to full power!
Gives me the creeps. I feel like something's watching us.
Mr. Savick, you go right on quoting regulations.
Hello, computer.
I knew I would.
You betrayed your uniform!
Target their cargo hold. Time to take out the garbage.
Smooth as an android's bottom, eh, Data?
I beg your pardon, sir?
Aspires to be better than I
Come on. It's gonna be fun.
5 years in space. God help me.
This is the best day of my life!
A phaser? You didn't use it?
Swords are fun.
Welcome back to another Retrek review, where each week we talk about Star Trek, and this week we're talking about episode 4 of Star Trek The Next Generation, and that episode is entitled Code of Honor.
Yeah.
It originally aired October 12th, 1987. It was written by Catherine Powers and Michael Barron. It was directed by Russ Mayweather and uncredited Les Landau. The synopsis for Code of Honor is: a mission of mercy is jeopardized when a planetary ruler decides he wants an Enterprise officer as his wife. So that was the introduction, but before we move on to subscribers and comments, let's go over to Caleb and hear what Caleb thought of the episode.
Oh, this episode is so good. No, this this episode's a big stinker. Yeah, I'm not a fan, honestly. I was waiting for you to say that it was directed by DC Fontana and she changed her name after. So
No.
it started off fine.
Yeah.
It just kept progressively getting like worse and worse and worse.
Yeah.
I was just like, man, this episode really, really kind of sucks.
Yeah, it does.
And it's Star Trek, so it has to end on this like high note, but it's really kind of not. But they resolve stuff without anything crazy happening.
It's like I can see what they were going for, and it works on paper, I think.
Yeah.
And then when you implement it, you're like, I think you made decisions that don't quite make sense.
A lot of it doesn't make sense.
It's interesting how you watch something like Black Panther, and it's like heavily steeped in like African culture and very specific accents that may be considered offensive. But the movie is like super well received and really well done and really well written. And then you cut over to this, and it's like they're clearly trying to make these like tribal African people. Okay, great.
Yeah. And it's like, it's fine. But here's the thing is that like these are aliens.
Right.
So
Right.
they give them all these like human emotions and also like stuff that has actually happened on our planet Earth. And it's like, why?
Right. Exactly.
And even in the end, they're like, well, you guys may have a lot of technology, but you'll never master human emotions. And it's like, or like civilized.
I think he says politeness or something. Yeah.
He's talking about like how they live their life. And it was like, what?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
I was just thinking that how like the Black Panther movie, it really shows this type of thing very well. You have people who have incredibly advanced technology, but yet they live in a very tribal, kind of like ancestral way. Like their culture and their community and their people are all like kind of like older times,
Yeah,
but
they
yet
stick to their heritage.
but it blends very well, especially in that movie. And that's
Yeah.
kind of what you see in this is like, well, they're supposed to be these like very tribal people on the edge of civilization, but they have transporters and they can make vaccines and all this stuff. And you're like, okay. Like clearly they have to have warp technology for these people to even interact with them.
Yeah, right.
So I don't know.
And that was the main thing, like right off the bat was oh, we can't replicate this vaccine. It was like, well, I don't understand why.
I don't know. Yeah, it's just
I bet
like,
Wesley could do it.
right. It's like, oh, well, when we go to replicate it, it just rips apart. We don't know what's
It's like,
happening. Like,
okay.
oh, okay.
They're blown away by the holodeck, but
Yeah.
they can replicate any kind of vaccine like immediately.
Yeah.
Oh well. Yeah, it's not a great one.
Not a great one. That's all
like
right.
you said, I get what they were trying to do, but
yeah.
And like most Star Trek that's bad, there's many parts of it that I do enjoy.
There's some parts of it that are like redeeming and as usual, like carry forward. So
Anytime we get to see Gordy's eyes, I'm always happy. I always harken back to like that was my first question was like, man, I don't remember ever seeing Gordy's eyes. Does that ever happen again? And you're like, oh yeah. And now it's legitimately every episode is like,
yeah.
Oh, here's my eye. I have to take off my eye visor when I shave because I don't want to see where I'm shaving.
Maybe the mechanism like messes with his visor, like it interferes with it or something. Like those they have those weird when you get something electronic close to something else and it like freaks out. Yeah,
that's a good point.
So Caleb, what would you say is your rating for this episode?
So this episode for me is gonna be I'm gonna give it a 1 Kaplan.
Nice.
So it's not the worst Kaplan.
Yeah.
But it's close. I probably will never give something like the worst of the worst. Because that's just kind of how I am. Because there's things that I enjoyed still.
No, yeah, fair.
Unless
fair.
Cyrano shows up again. That'll be a 3 Kaplan immediately.
Immediately, just no matter what. So we had a couple comments on our last couple podcasts. Spruce Mouthman, he says, McDougal came in and left us like a popcorn fart in a snowstorm.
That's a real...
It's an interesting way to put it, isn't it?
Powerful analogy, yeah. It is true, though. McDougal, yeah, wow.
Then, the return of Captain Olimar. He put a comment on our encounter at Farpoint as well as our Naked Now. Counter and Farpoint comment says, engage. He says, firstly, this music lives rent-free in his head.
Mm-hmm.
And that he really needs Riker to have his beard.
Yeah, I hear that's coming way down the road.
And a little bit. Marina Sirtis, who plays Troy, is really stiff in this episode, and she tells the audience such helpful things like the jellyfish are filled with joy. Wow.
Without that, I mean, who knows what's going on? And then in this episode, she is so unhelpful at all.
Yes.
Doesn't sense like deceit or anything that these guys are trying to do,
No. He loves John Delancey. He finds he's the best part of the episode. But yet the episode, despite John Delancey being Q, is still very boring. And interestingly, he says that there was way less trial setting than he remembered, which he enjoyed. So he enjoyed not Q sitting in the chair and all that stuff happening.
Oh, interesting.
So yeah. Then he appreciated the trivia and the interview, and he said, "Who doesn't love Rugrats and all that jazz?"
Exactly. It was cool. Yeah, like to shine more light on that. Like that was super fun getting to interview
Yeah, it was super fun. It was pretty wild.
Michael Bell. Yeah, that was cool.
And it's funny too, because like just a couple days ago, this was Transformers 40th anniversary, and he's like
Yeah.
second build, I think, on that. And I was just like, it's just crazy to.
It's pretty cool.
And I was listening to a podcast with Jim Cummings and Rob Paulson, I think.
Mm.
I happened to be listening to the podcast just a few days after I think our recording went up, not after the actual interview. I think they were talking about him. They like dropped him by name, and I was just like, this is crazy.
Oh,
To
that's fun.
like literally have talked to that guy, and here's Jim Cummings, the voice of Winnie the Pooh, and like Rob Paulson, who's the voice of
Yeah.
all these things. So pretty crazy.
That is cool. That is cool.
Then our comment on the Naked Now from Captain Olimar is grabs Picard's hog.
Oh, Captain. Wow, that's really funny. That caught me off guard. That's good.
He makes up his own secret words for the comment section, which I appreciate.
Well, then this one I approve. What a weird scene that is.
So he says if he didn't know what was in store for season 1, he'd say that this is the worst episode. It's sexist and cringy and embarrassing.
That's great. That's great to hear. God.
He says that he never caught that Beverly assaults Picard, so that was a good catch. And he says that it's never a good sign when Riker seems reasonable with his behavior towards women.
Oh no.
But he says, like you were kind of saying, that they're still really finding their characters' voices, like they're still trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
And then lastly, he says, I think Gene did his legacy a disservice by not letting other people help him with the show. I guess he was really bitter about being shut out of the movies, but, still. Thanks for the review, as always, and keep it up. So thanks, Captain Alimar and Spruce Mouth Man. We appreciate your comments.
Yeah.
Let's get into the review. So before the intro, we have all that stuff where they roll out the red carpet and all that funny stuff.
Yeah, that's when I knew I was in for it.
But the thing that literally the only thing I wrote for this section was like, I get the idea behind why she did it, but I also was like, this feels like overkill.
Yeah.
Is when the guy is walking up with the box and she's like, no, let me inspect it. And he's like, get out of my way, woman.
It's your hands.
And instead of just being like, no, and like taking it out of his hands, or I don't know, just getting in his way constantly, she's just is like, I'm going to flip you over onto your head. And that was just like, obviously, that's how you totally want to interact with a new species, is just like immediately assault them.
Yeah. They're coming towards the captain with a box that you asked for. I mean, what do you... Oh God. Yeah. And that, like, she's supposed to be like this, martial art, like, trained security officer, and that's her only move, is to like grab your arm and throw you on your back. That's all she does.
Yes. She's
That's
very good
pretty
at
funny. It. That whole scene was ridiculous. And they do that, over the top setup where they're like, oh yeah, we would love to join for dinner. And they're like, cool. And then everybody walks away and they're like, yes, perhaps I will steal her. It's like, oh
yeah. So we come back from the intro and before our first commercial break. And there's that scene where they're in I think it's the conference room or some sort of galley or something. And they're all sitting around and all this stuff. And then the guy Lutan says something like kind of fine, like nothing really that insightful, just, and Picard cuts to Picard and everybody's clapping. And when it cuts to Picard clapping, he's like, oh, and you're like, oh boy, he looks so smug clapping.
Yeah. It was ridiculous, yeah. Yeah, I think they were talking about the vaccine. Everyone was like, yeah, and they started clapping. It was like, okay, like
It was pretty funny. It was kind of strange to have Yar show like Lutan and whatever the guy's name was, like the holodeck by herself, like not a single other officer like to come with them.
Yeah, that was weird.
But you kind of got to
totally
see
not a formula,
Yeah, right. But you kind of got to see some more holodeck stuff, like kind of how it works and things like that.
Yeah, I like seeing the holodeck. I like seeing the holodeck when it's just the grid.
Oh yeah.
I like how he's like, there's no image that could deal a blow like that, and then that guy walks over and gets knocked out too.
Immediately thrown over, yeah. When did you start to like not want to keep watching the episode?
This holodeck scene started it.
Okay.
It was so awkward and so weird. And so like just so cheesy. Like we talk about TOS being like a cheese fest, but like this to me is more cheesy and cringy than anything like TOS ever like did.
True.
Like legitimately, like
no, yeah, I don't disagree with you.
She wears her uniform and then she puts a robe over it, and it's like, dude, like what? And then it's just again, she just grabs the arm and throws him twice, and it's like, we train for anything, so that we'll always be ready for anything. And I was like, oh, so as long as somebody lunges towards you with their hand,
yeah,
you can put them on their back. That's great. And she's like, it always learns and adapts, and it like doesn't do anything different.
No.
And I was just like, oh my god.
And then she's like, I could make 2 or 3 more of these,
but I don't need to. When would I ever have to fight multiple people? Now, when would I ever be captured by like multiple guards with staffs? Why would I train against weapons? Stupid.
Never.
Idiot. Your culture is so simple and moronic. It did. Yeah, so I started checking out here, and I think really when I checked out was when they were gearing up for the arena. And I was just like, this has got to end soon. Like, this has to be the end. Like,
oh, I love it.
Bring me my glove. I like the guy in the audience. I like how the glove flies off, and he's like, oh. just to emphasize again to the audience.
Deadly.
Hey, stuff has poison on it. I know we told you. Gordy told you. Now we're telling you,
Yeah.
And she's down there training, and she's just basically pole dancing around these poles, and just like, ooh, I swing to this side. I swing to this side. Like, oh my god, this is gonna be a real good battle.
Yeah,
I started checking it.
Fair enough.
Yeah, but we're nowhere near that yet. So
not yet. No. So we come back from our second commercial, and I thought that there was a cool captain's chair moment where he like flips up the hand like arm piece.
Yeah,
that was cool. I like that.
Yeah, I like when the chair moves. Captain, I have to talk to you about my son Wesley. What? Your son.
Yes, that was the
Huh?
second thing I.
Oh yes. Oh yes. I forgot. I forgot you have a son.
He
In
plays
his brain,
it
he's
so
just like,
well.
how you would not have become pregnant after last week's shenanigans. I was like, he's so like he forgets that she has a son. Like, I just don't get it.
Yeah,
I don't get it. And then he puts him in the Helms chair.
yeah.
And then the end of the episode, he comes back on the bridge. He's like, "What the hell is he doing?" I was like, "You put him there. You told him to sit there. You did, and then you didn't tell him to leave ever.
Yeah.
You just like left, and you took important like calls and stuff.
Yeah. I think at the end Riker puts him there, but still,
Yeah, but you never see Picard say like, all right, so we gotta do like important stuff up here. So if you wouldn't mind like leaving the bridge, he like never relieves him. He just is like, okay, we're gonna go down to the planet, and they just like leave. And so he leaves him up there in Helms.
Yes.
And then he's so surprised when he comes back. He's like, who's your mother again? I can't remember who your mother is.
Yeah. There's no other person on the ship named Wesley. So
What?
she's like,
Huh?
Wesley.
Ethan?
What? Who's that?
Not to mention, a couple weeks ago, he had to write up a full report on how Wesley saved the Enterprise.
So
my
funny.
God.
Like, I appreciate Patrick Stewart's acting in it, but it's
it's great.
It's so bizarre.
So far, everybody makes really bizarre choices, I've noticed, for stuff.
Yep.
Like over the top. And again,
yeah,
TOS was never like over the top acting. Shatner gets such a bad rap for him being like, we've got to find a way.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like it's so not that at all. Like even in the movies, it wasn't like so over the top like that. And now here we are in the 80s, and it's like, oh my God, like this is like like they're just trying so hard. They're trying so hard. And I understand it's the first season, they're finding their footing. But it was just like, wow, this is hard. This is hard to watch sometimes.
It is. It certainly is.
It's fine too if you're enjoying the episode. You're like, wow, that's really over the top and funny. But like, if you're really not enjoying the episode on top of it, you're just like, oh my God. Anything. I could be doing anything else. You know what's funny is even though this is, 300 years later, this is, I do get why at the time period, like if you grew up watching TOS and now this is on and you're like, this is the new Star Trek. You'd be like, this sucks. This sucks. Like I said, like they want you to be like, I love these characters. I love everybody on the ship. And it's like, you're supposed to know them inside and out. And it's like, I don't. And now you're putting them in positions where I'm supposed to be like, oh man.
Yeah.
But I don't care. I don't care about the characters.
No.
Especially this episode. Like I'm not a fan of the security officer like at all.
Right.
So if she stayed on the planet with that guy, I wouldn't have cared one way or the other.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care. I don't care.
Yeah, I don't know. And I don't know what it is. It's like some of it is her choice, like her acting, but a lot of it is just how she's written. Like it just doesn't why would you make her act like that?
Yeah, I have nothing against her as an actor. Like that's not it's her writing. It's like they're going from TOS. They're like, we need a strong woman. And it's like, this isn't how you write a strong woman. You assume like if you have a strong woman, like, yeah, she's strong and tough and like cool.
Yes.
And it's like she's irrational. She flies off the handle.
Right.
She's not calm and collected. I don't look at her character and say like, wow, she went through like years and years of Starfleet Academy.
Right.
Because that's the other thing. From TOS, it's like now it's like, oh yes, we have Starfleet Academy. We have the Prime Directive. Like they just dropped that this episode, and you're like, what's that? No idea what that is.
Right.
Because in TOS it was the same thing, but it was like not really called anything.
A general
specific.
order one. Yeah.
Right. And that was just like, hey, if you're hiking and you eat like a Snickers, like don't leave the wrapper in the woods. That's
Right.
that's what Prime Order 1 is.
Right.
This is like, oh, you can't do any harm
You may
to
not do
anybody.
nothing to no one.
Even though they challenge you to war. Oh well. Oh well.
Oh, well. That's Prime Directive. Man, like you're saying, if this was just on the air and you had been a big fan of TOS, you'd be like, I don't know how long I'm going to sit through this.
This would be
And
one of those shows like Discovery where
mm,
people watch it and they're just like, I hate this show. And then
Right.
other people have to like tell you, like, you know what? It really picks up in season 4. Like it gets really good. It's like I'm not watching 3 seasons of garbage to get to
Right.
like,
right.
oh, isn't that cool? Worf shows up in season 4. Like, I don't care. I'm not sitting through 3 seasons.
Yeah. The good news is with this is season 1 has a good handful of stinkers like this, but it also
Yeah.
has some like I don't want to say good episodes. They have some really interesting, like surprising
Like
things.
themes. Yeah.
They have surprising things happen in this season, which you don't expect. And
Well, I will say, even this episode is not something that they did on TOS.
True.
So I appreciate that.
In tandem with you talking about Wesley in this part where he's so confused about Wesley is when
Yeah.
he tells them to go sit down, and then they're all like, "What?" And he's like, "Is the whole ship deaf?"
That's like, dude, you've made it clear, crystal clear, that you don't want Wesley on the
Also,
bridge.
that you hate children.
and
like-
you hate kids. I just like how he was hiding in the
Yes.
Oh man, that was pretty funny.
The turbo
Wesley.
lift.
Turbo
That
lift, yeah.
I enjoyed how Gates McFadden said that instead of just saying turbo lift.
Turbo lift.
He's on the turbo lift. You'll remember you ordered him to stay off of the bridge.
And then so Picard is talking to him. He's like, Wesley, you can come on out, son. You can come on out.
Yeah.
And then Riker steps on and he's like, get off the bridge. Get out of here. I'll get rid of him, sir. Don't worry about it.
I'll kill him for you. I'll kill
I'll
him.
get his greasy little foot off the carpet of the bridge. You told him not 1 foot. I'll take care of it, sir. I'll take care. He's like, no.
And he's literally like, no. He's like, what?
I still think it's so weird that those 3 sit like side by side.
Oh,
It's
yes.
so weird to me.
Yes.
It's so weird to me. And then there's a scene where like they all get up, the 3 of them, they're like, all right, well, we have to go do this thing. They all stand up in unison and then like march off the side. I was like, this is so weird.
Yeah.
Your
Did you enjoy that? I think it's the same. Maybe it's after the other one, but it's where he's like asking for opinions. He asks like Troy's feelings on the people, and then she's just like, yeah, like they're they're really sexually attracted to Tasha, because Tasha's physically attractive. And Picard's like, yes. And then she says something like, oh, he seems like he's filled with ambition or avarice. Like he wants her for like honor and to stand out. And Picard's like, wow, amazing.
A woman.
This makes me laugh that
Close to it, yeah.
it's like, it's just, she is literally right now, she's not like this always, but she is literally right now Sigourney Weaver's character in Galaxy Quest, where it's just like, it's like the computer says, the enemy ship is charging weapons, and then the person looks down at the thing, and then they're like, Captain, the enemy ship is charging weapons. It's just like most of her dialogue is not needed.
Yeah, and like I said, this was the one episode where like she really could have been, handy.
Yes, exactly.
And she's like, I don't know. They might want to have sex with her, I guess. I don't know.
It's a thing where it's like in the scene where they have like they're gonna snatch her and like take her away. You would think that Troy would have turned to Picard and been like, they have different intentions, Captain, and then like stop it from happening. But I get it. It's like you can't, otherwise there's not an episode, but still, it's just like.
Yeah, no, it's just kind of stupid. When you have, I think we talked about this before, but when you have these like all-star people on
Yeah,
board,
right. Yes.
it becomes a lot harder to write stories around that because nothing would ever happen on the Enterprise if you had these like crew. But that scene when they take her, it is so flat.
Yes.
It is so flat.
Yes.
He's like, all right, Captain, so yeah, we're gonna leave. We're gonna leave everything. And he's like, oh, and he like grabs her, and then everyone just stands there. And he's like, ta-ta and farewell. And they beam out, and then Picard just turns around and he's just like, red alert. It was just like,
oh,
wow. The emotion. Like, dude, you know what would happen if like some alien species beamed in and like kidnapped Malcolm?
Oh, right. Yeah.
It would have been just an all-out war.
He would have started bombing the city. Locate his signal and bomb everywhere where he's not.
Trip would have beamed down with 2 phasers. Yes. And this was just like, not again. Oh, red alert.
I also feel like in TOS, like Kirk would have like leaped at him and gotten transported with them.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah. I feel like Archer would have done that too. But Picard is just so like, just another day on the Enterprise. Like
whatever.
Like with the same emotion as like he was just gonna turn and be like, well, impulse 1, let's get this vaccine. let's get out of here. Like,
I told Tasha not to do that. I told her, stand too close.
I told her not to show off any of her sweet moves in the holodeck room.
Fool.
She made herself irresistible.
So this is another problem I have with any Star Trek episode, but
yeah,
it happens. It happens in TOS. It happens in all of them, but it's where they don't fully educate themselves on the Ligonians or whatever, these people. They don't like take the time when they're going to, like, oh, Captain, we went and we researched. We looked more into the briefing to like understand these individuals. And it's just like,
yeah, we actually read the briefing.
Like, what? Why would you not do that? It's like, I would get it. I would understand if it's like, listen, we're just going to go to this planet, do like screen talking to screen talking, and they're going to transport it to like cargo bay number 5. And we're going to say, see you later, and warp out of here. Totally get why you would not read like absolute pages upon pages of their culture and how the first interaction with these people went. I understand. But when you're going to like have them on the ship, you're going to invite them to dinner. You may go down to the planet. You're going to have to do diplomatic like type of back and forth with them. It's like, as a captain and as a crew, you, at least as senior staff, you would be like absolutely knee deep in like all of the information you could get about these people, because you don't want to go like, oh, I picked my nose, I itched my nose, and they're like, that means you want to have sex with my mother, and then they destroy the vaccine, and it's like, oh, okay, like I don't know. It's just like, I don't know. It's always
Guess
annoying
who's
me.
coming to dinner?
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
It's a good point. Yeah, it's a good point. And I think that falls on the captain too. I mean, he's got all his logistics people, but it's like, if you're the captain, like on the ride over there, I'm gonna be in my ready room reading like everything on this society.
Yeah, and it's like, it's nothing against them as like characters or them as actors. It's clearly the writing. It's like you're making them look stupid.
Yeah.
The only other thing that was really weird in that scene is when Data is like unveiling all the stuff, and like I don't even know if the Native American thing that he brings up is like even not racist. I don't know. But anyways,
oh yeah, I don't know.
I have no idea. And I don't care to look into it. But
the joke is that he just talks and talks and then realizes like None of this information is pertinent for this time.
Right.
It's like, yeah.
But he says this really strange thing where he says French is
What's up with that?
what does he say? Like an ancient language or an obscure language? And I was like, so French isn't spoken on Earth or in the Federation.
France in 2036.
And I was like, Jean-Luc Picard is pretty freaking French. And I get like that's the joke. Is like, hey, Data, maybe don't keep talking about this. And like Riker is smiling in the background because Picard is very French, obviously.
Jean-Luc Picard. Like, he's like, yeah, French is gone. French doesn't exist anymore.
But it's like, what? It just doesn't. I didn't get it at all. I don't understand it, even slightly.
I was lost, even until you just said, like, his full name.
Yeah.
They do that scene where he's saying that, and then Riker's like, hey, Data, just let it go. Like, let it go. And then like Picard like walks off. And I was just like, what was that? What is this?
I don't know. It's like somebody thought it'd be really funny if they said to him that like French people are stupid because he's French. And then you're like,
yeah.
Oh, but we can't say that because we don't have that type of like dynamic in the future, right? All cultures are the same. It's like, well, the easiest way to do that is just to make the French like obscure and non-existent. And you're like, what? So you just like deleted a culture from the earth?
Captain, I believe the term is stinky Frenchman. It's just one of those things where it's like they're like, hey, so what made like McCoy and Spock and Kirk?
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Well, they all kind of like made fun of each other, and they made fun of Spock.
Yes.
It's like, well, yeah, but that's also because like we love McCoy and Spock and Kirk. I'm not there yet.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's really weird. So this is the halfway point. So go down to the comment section and tell us how you're confused. Yes.
Where you stinky Frenchman?
Yeah. Let us know how confused you are in the comment section when you hear them.
Go down in the comment section and write stinky Frenchman.
God.
I blow kisses at you.
So we come back from commercial, and all I have are these two things: is that I liked the Riker Picard dynamic, where Riker's like, "Yeah, I don't want you to go down to the planet because like they're terrible people," and then they're like, "Yeah, but culturally, like because of Picard being who he is, the status that he has, like he's an honored guest, so they won't actually hurt him according to their traditions and honor." And Riker's like, I guess that's fine. He's like, but if you get hurt, like I'm writing you up. Like I enjoyed that whole.
Yeah, I thought that was funny.
That was good. It was actually like, like actual substance and character. And yeah, it was good.
And then Deanna's like, I feel admiration.
Yes. But this is the other part that I thought was just so like, why was this necessary to write in the episode? And also like, what purpose does it serve? So they're down in the quarters, like Tasha's like quarters or whatever. And Picard's like,
yeah.
And Picard's like, hey, did you know that he was going to ask you to be his wife? And she's like, no. And he's like, well, what do you know about this though? Tell me everything you know about it. And she's like, I don't know anything about this. Like, and it's like, why would she? And then Picard kind of scratches his head, and then Troy's like, but listen, you
want to do him though, right?
And it's like, Tasha's like,
obviously I want to do him, but that's beside the point. Like, why are we doing this?
Like, why? Why did Troy have to like push Tasha into a corner to get Tasha to admit that like she found him attractive? It made no sense.
Yeah, I don't know.
And then she's
Well, I mean,
literally
we know how these women characters are after the Naked Now. Like that's just all they care about.
sex.
Sex.
I'm a security officer and I think about sex all the time.
Obviously, I want to do him. And I'll kill his wife to do it, but then we got to get this vaccine out of here. Like, oh my god! And then also, like, she keeps coming in the room like constantly, and it's just like the three of them. And it's just like, hey, so like you could have just like beamed anytime. You could have just left.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I get that you don't get the vaccine, but like,
They also don't really set up the like necessity of the vaccine. Yes, Beverly goes into the quarters and is like, I need the vaccine. People are dying. And like, you've never seen somebody die from this disease. And you're like, okay, sure. But like, they don't do a setup where you easily could have cut out some of this stuff with these people and done stuff where like Beverly's on a station or on another planet and like thousands of people are dying by the hour kind of thing. And she's trying to like do it, and she's like on long range comms, like trying to get Picard to come to the thing, and she's like, instead she's just on the ship and has a couple back and forth with him, and then it's just like, we have to have that vaccine. It doesn't feel like there's any type of like rush or actual necessity to have it. It just feels like, well, yeah, the word is vaccine and the word was Achilles fever, so therefore it's very serious.
Millions could die.
Billion. But yeah, this is the scene.
Well, let's hurry up and kill this man's wife so we can get the vaccine.
We gotta get out of here. I was thinking this is the scene where you make a really good point, where they bring in the weapons, or no,
he beams down.
Yes,
Data and Gordy, and have like, I need you to study these weapons.
Look at these weapons.
Okay. Yeah,
and he comes in. He tells them there's poison on the weapons. Then the guards bring in the weapons, and she looks at the spike fist thing, and Geordi's like, hey, careful, Tasha, don't touch that. That's coated in poison. And then they're fighting. I think somebody else makes mention that it's poisoned, and then the guy gets hit in the chest with it and he dies. Yeah, and you're just poison. Like, from the poison. And then the woman gets hit in the back, and then it's like, oh God, she's poisoned.
She's dead because of poison.
Because we get it. We get it.
I also like how they bring in 5 boxes. She opens the first one and she's like, this is it. This is the one.
I thought the same exact thing. Yeah,
and then they go to the arena. They go into the arena and she also has the same. And it's just like, I don't understand. I make that like the standard fighting tool.
And I think exactly that's what it is. Because what he literally says when they brought the boxes in, he says, pick your size.
Oh,
and I thought the same thing was he was giving her like 5 weapons to choose from, but no, it's pick the one that fits your hand the best, basically.
Well, in the lobby, they have all sorts of like weapons and long swords, and
they don't care about any of those.
All those things that like you wouldn't be able to wield, where there's all these pipes in the way.
Fluorescent bulbs, yeah. A point that I did like was we come back from the next commercial and Geordi is shaving, and then Data comes in.
Oh, yeah.
Talking, and then Data's like, hey, so this joke, and Geordi's like, oh my God. He's like trying to get out of the room before Data says the joke. That made me laugh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty funny.
That was pretty
I like the razor. I thought the razor was kind of cool. It's like a laser razor.
Yeah. And it also was kind of neat too that like Data's like, why aren't you using the one like I made 100% efficient for you? And Geordi's like, there's a thing of being too efficient and like cutting too close.
Yeah. Yeah. And he's like, oh, it's bad to be too efficient.
But this is the scene that you were talking about. I actually liked it. That it was a really interesting decision to have Picard realize he was about to give like a rambly speech and then state that his officers already know the things he's about to speak about and like not keep talking. I was like, man, that's an interesting
Yeah, I like that a lot.
like self-awareness to write into the character.
He's like, yeah, you don't need me to ramble on about this. And she's like, well, you're the captain. You have the right to. And he's like, I don't have the right to continue to talk about things that everyone knows. I was like, oh, that's pretty good. That's pretty good.
Yeah. So that like fight sequence.
Well, she invites her into her room first, and
Oh
she's
yeah.
like, hey, first of all, she starts with a threat.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Instead of just saying, like, hey, look, I don't want to like fight. I don't want your husband. I just want the vaccine and I want to get off this planet.
Right.
She's like, I've been trained. You'll lose, but I don't want you to fight me. And it's like, wow. Very good. Start off with a threat. That's always great.
That's the best way, yeah. Yeah, I don't dislike the fight like too much. It's not the worst thing I've ever seen. It's weird, but it's not like god awful. But
The laser grid is what makes it like
yeah,
it's like cool. It's cool and futuristic arena, and it's like
yeah,
it's not. It's not.
it's talked about, and I thought like, oh yeah, that's kind of true. As they say that like this is one of the few episodes where an officer from the main cast has to fight in like a ceremonial battle.
Yeah.
So you have Kirk and Spock, and then you have Archer and Shran with the
Yeah.
with the gauntlets.
I like that. Basically, Picard has a plan that they don't really reveal.
And the last thing I had for this section was basically like, why make it a point that Yar has any feelings for Lutan? Like, why does this have to be a thing? It doesn't. It's unnecessary.
It's like, so they do that. They say that she does, and then she has to like belittle him also. It's like, yeah, I have feelings for him. I want to do him, and then she's like, must be so sad to be in your position, to be such a piece of garbage. Now you have nothing. You have no land. You have no necklace.
Nothing.
It's like, wow. Even during the battle, I heard you calling out my name and cheering me on. I want you to be my first one. Wow. This is good. This is really good. Whoever controls the women controls the land and all the monetary.
All of the money.
I like the scene before this. I like the scene where Picard goes in and has like a drink.
Oh, yeah. He says,
I thought that was pretty good.
That's not bad. Yeah.
I thought that was pretty funny.
He's like, interesting.
Yeah. He's like, some of your stature and wealth. And the other guy's like, what? Stature, yes. Wealth, not really. He has no money.
So now it's time for trivia.
Oh, not again.
All right, now you're overacting.
So for whatever reason, they were going to have these aliens be reptilian and call them Telesians instead of Tellarites. That would have been
Collusions.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah.
And, very similar to what actually happens in the episode. But also, there was going to be a reference to Kirk, who once fought against Lutan's grandfather.
Oh, snap.
Yeah.
That was pretty good, actually. See, now here's the thing, though, is that like I think that would have been better. I think the thing that Star Trek does sometimes is they're like, look at these aliens, they're so alien and ugly and disgusting.
Yeah.
It's so different from us, and then it's like they're not even, they're literally just like people with makeup on.
Yep.
And so it's like in this episode, if the aliens were all reptilians, you would be like, hey, this makes sense. Like a lot of their reasoning and stuff would be like, I'd be like, okay, yeah, they're not like us.
Right.
But then you make them look just like us because they are just humans in like, costumes.
Yeah, right.
It's like, okay. Especially when they try to recreate in this episode, it's like you said, like they're aliens, but like they're very similar to like African culture that we're used to on Earth.
Right,
And it's like, why make it similar to Earth in any way at all?
No.
Like, I just don't.
Right.
I don't get it.
It's not in trivia. I thought it was going to be in here, but I had listened to on a podcast that Denise Crosby said, like in this episode, that there was a scene where the hands hit the bulbs and like all this glass went everywhere and like all that gas, and they had to like shut down production for like a day or two because I think she had to go to the hospital or the other actress had to go to the hospital because like they were concerned about breathing and that stuff.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they used like real neon bulbs for that scene.
Yep.
Oh yeah. Yeah. That stuff's not great. Cool.
Yeah.
Because there's no such thing as LEDs in the 80s.
Nope.
It was all Freon and
exactly
crap. That's pretty great.
Yeah.
Pretty great. Like, let's make these neon tubes, and then we'll give these actors these big metal smash ball hands.
Nothing bad can come of this. Oh, but do we have to like swing them and go like in between them and around them and like hang on to things? Yes. Yeah. Oh, so Russ Mayberry, who directed this episode, like left the production during filming. And so first assistant director Les Landau took over.
And he said, "More neon, please."
More.
The
really funny thing is Gene Roddenberry's son, like later in life, Rod, and David Goodman. This is what they say. As weirdly offensive as people think Code of Honor is, I at least liked it because it felt new and different. There was some action and it had a great score. It probably has the best score of any Next Generation episode. And then
I couldn't even tell you what the score was.
right. Gene's son Rod goes on to say, Code of Honor is the one that people say is the most racist, but I just didn't see it. Is it the best episode ever? No. But did I enjoy the episode? Sure. I just saw them as people on a planet that happened to be of dark skin that evolved in this certain way.
Right.
So these two guys talk about how it's like it's not that bad.
Right. Two white guys are talking about how not bad the episode. Yeah.
But literally everyone else
hates it.
Jonathan,
I hate it.
Yeah, Jonathan Frakes at a convention called Vegas Con.
Yeah.
Like 13 years ago said that it was a racist piece of crap. And that he said in 2007 at a convention in Toronto, the worst and most embarrassing and one that even Gene would have been embarrassed by was that horrible racist episode from the first season, Code of Honor. Oh my God in heaven. That's what he said. And then Brent Spiner, who plays Data, said it was worst episode we ever did, an inadvertently racist episode. And he says the episode was maybe not intentionally racist, but it felt that way and looked that way. It was the third episode, so it was fortuitous that we did our worst that early on, and it never got quite that bad again.
Well, that's good.
Will Wheaton, who plays Wesley, said, if the cast wasn't arbitrarily decided to be African American, the idea of the episode being racist or non-racist wouldn't have been an issue.
Yeah. Well, it's not even that. When you take an alien species and you make them have like the same type of society that we have here on Earth in Africa, right? You're saying like even black people in space are the same as here.
Yes.
It's like, yeah, that's not.
Well, like a very specific set of cultural people. Yeah, no, yeah.
Yeah, it's like why I don't understand. They give them the same culture. They give them the same accents. They give them,
Yeah.
and it's like, but they're supposed to be aliens. Like,
Yes.
no, I don't get it. I don't really get it.
Interestingly, Michael Dorn, who plays Worf, is not in this
Yeah.
episode. Not in it.
Well, yeah, but that's a great example too. Like we're saying, Michael Dorn is, a black guy, and it has nothing. He's just
Yeah.
he's a Klingon. He's an alien.
Yeah.
Like
No.
that's my point. Is like,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
I don't know. This is weird.
It's
the 80s.
We come back from trivia, and literally the only thing I wrote for this end part was that the Wesley bit at the end was nice. When he's like,
it's over. It's over. Thank God Almighty. It's over. It's just such a lame cop out too, where it's like, okay, we didn't go against the Prime Directive, but we also tricked you.
Yep.
And it's like, well, you can't trick me. It was like, yeah, but now she's with this other guy, so you're not really in charge anymore. So it doesn't matter now.
Yeah.
So you kind of did leave the planet like different than it was when you got there, right? So isn't that kind of against the Prime Directive? I don't understand.
Yeah. It doesn't matter.
You have to follow the Prime Directive unless you can trick
them. If you can trick them, the Prime Director goes right out the window.
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't want to trick them to get Tasha back or trick them to get the vaccine. Nope.
I wish she stayed around the planet, if I'm being honest with you. But yeah, so the Wesley thing, like I said, like he was, again, no idea why he was there, even though he put him there. And then Riker was like, oh,
whoops.
Yeah, no, I had him fill in, Captain. And he was like, oh, thank you, Wesley. Thank you.
Yeah. I just like that he was nice to him at the end.
Yeah, he's like, well, I'll let you know when we can use you again, Wesley.
Yeah.
That's what I like, though, is that it's the recurring theme from like the first episode where Picard literally tells Riker, like, hey, I'm not really great with kids. So if you could just make me not look like a jerk. And then this episode, he's like, what the heck? And Riker's like, oh, yes, no, sir. Remember, you put him in charge of Helms, and it's totally fine. And he's like, oh, yes. Thank you, Wesley. Thank you. So he fulfills his role. I like that.
Well, that concludes the episode. But before we end the video, let's do the thing everyone's been waiting for.
Caleb?
Okay, who gets the Erica Ortegas Award for being the most unlikable?
The main guy there, what's his name?
Lutad?
Yeah, I don't like him.
Don't like Lutan, okay.
No, I don't like his necklace. I don't like his hat.
Do you like when he does this?
No.
Don't like
No. God, no. My least favorite thing.
Next is the Elizabeth Cutler Award for the most forgettable.
Wolf.
Yeah.
Wesley had to do his job.
It's true. So. It's true. I just think about if like Worf was in this episode, I feel like things would have gone differently in general.
Well, that's why they knew they could not have Worf in this episode.
Yeah.
Because he would have just gone down. He's like, all right, this is how you're going to kill her.
Right. He's like, Captain, I've gone into the other woman's quarters and I've murdered her. Tasha has nothing to worry about now.
You'll have no threat. Everybody on this planet is dead, and I have the vaccine. I don't follow your Prime Directive. I'm a Klingon.
I am a Klingon.
I'm sorry, sir. Do not the needs of the many outweigh the needs of this planet?
Next is the Mugatu Award for the best alien of the episode.
Isn't Deanna an alien?
Yeah, yes, she's half
Yeah, well,
alien.
fine. Just give it to her. I don't care. She'll never get another reward, so I might as well use it here.
Yeah. Yep. She's the best alien. I agree. God. Next is the Trip Tucker Award for being the MVP. Who is it, Caleb? Who's the MVP of the episode?
That is going to be, I don't know his name yet because I haven't been introduced to him.
Okay.
The guy that operates the transporter.
Oh, like the guy that they talk over, but you don't see him, you just hear his voice.
Yeah. So this is the new Kyles is the MVP of this episode. I mean, he was beaming people left and right, you know.
That's true.
He had to beam up that poisoned lady. Remember, she was poisoned?
Yeah.
Even at the end there, too, where Picard's like, all right, well, thanks for the vaccine. We'll be leaving. And he's like, 5 to beam up. And those two guys are like, ah!
Yeah. That's true. That's true.
The transporter guy, he's got to be quick, man. He's got to be quick on the draw.
Oh, yeah.
He's got to be like, all right, 3 to beam up. Oh, 5 to beam up. Whoa. He beams up Data without being like seen that he beamed up, you know. That's the other thing about this culture too, is like they have no idea that they're being like on surveillance. They have no idea. I wish that when they activated the arena, like those lights went and like shot right through the Enterprise, like right through the dish.
Next is the Spock Award for the best line of the episode.
That's definitely Picard's speech about giving speeches.
Yes. Okay. I do like that scene where he comes down and he talks to them all. It's pretty good. Because even Deanna's like, well, you're the captain. You're entitled to make big, long-winded speeches. And he's just like, I don't need to say it to people who already know it. He's like, I'm going to save speeches for people who have no idea. I don't know.
We've all been to Starfleet. Like, we all know.
We get history. Yeah. Next is the Shran Award for the best action sequence.
When the mace flies off.
Yes. Yes.
And kills that innocent bystander.
He's like, it seems to have landed in my lap.
He's like, I caught it. And he looks down. He's like, oh, blood. Oh, wait a minute. Now, I heard rumors that these were poisoned. And Geordi's just like, they're poisoned.
Yeah. I'm starting to feel as if I'm poisoned.
How could I have been poisoned? I'm not even fighting.
and then when he passes, he dies or whatever. The person next to him goes, somebody across the way goes like, that man's been poisoned. Next is the NX Award for some sweet ship stuff.
I think this is the first time we get a shot of people in the turbo lift talking, which I enjoyed.
Okay, yeah.
Picard and Dana and Riker get in the turbo lift, and they like continue their conversation, and it's like shot inside the lift as it's moving. I think that's the first time we've seen inside the lift.
Yeah, like especially going deck to deck. I think so too. Maybe. Yeah, I think so.
I just like how this is a giant class ship, and I'm like, I like the elevator. It's really cool.
Next is the Porthos Award for the cheesiest thing of the episode.
Definitely the holodeck martial arts scene.
Okay, where he goes like.
That was so bad. That whole scene is just so bad.
Yeah, we can just move on. And finally, the Enterprise Award for the best scene of the episode.
Let's give it to Data's joke scene.
Or Geordi and him are in the... Okay.
Yeah, that's a pretty good scene. That's the best scene of the episode. And he's like, that's not how jokes work. And then he says... He uses the joke, but like, like a serious manner, and he's like, "That wasn't even meant to be a joke." And he's like, "Yeah, that's what makes it so funny."
That's what makes it funny, right? Yeah. Well, that was the award ceremony for the episode as well as our review. Now it's your turn to go down to the comment section and write what you thought of the episode. Did you love it? Did you hate it? Did you want more of it? Did you want less of it? Did you find it honorable?
No.
Let us know down below.
They offended like a black culture and they offended French people all in the same episode.
Yeah. And probably Native Americans and a bunch of
and
stuff.
women. And women as a whole. Yeah.
True. They did really good. They did really high marks.
Pretty good, Gene. Pretty good.
Next time on Star Trek: The Next Generation.
Next week's episode will be The Last Outpost. As always, you can like the video if you like it. Dislike it if you dislike it. Share it with all your friends and family and Trek enthusiasts. Subscribe so you don't miss an episode and ring that bell for notifications so that you don't miss it when it comes out on the channel. You also can go over to Caleb's channel. He is a prop channel. He's got a lot of cool stuff over there. Go over there, look at his videos, see what he's got going on. Leave him a like, leave him a subscribe, leave him a comment. You decide.
Yeah, and give me a suggestion.
So thanks for doing all the fun things down below. Thanks for going over to this guy's channel, doing all the fun things on his thing. Find a cool video. There's Star Trek stuff over there. Computer and program. See you guys.
You're supposed to be dead. I was supposed to acquire all of your riches and keep your necklace. This is witchcraft.